This video is sponsored by Supply Handlers.
We've all known this for months now, but it's finally confirmed. Enzo Maresca will be the coach of Manchester City going into the new season. Now that there's a new boss, a few things will certainly change at the club, and we're here to talk about who will and will not benefit from this change. These are the biggest winners and losers of Enzo Maresca joining Man City. One of the biggest winners will surely be Nico O'Reilly. As we saw at Chelsea, Maresca loves a fullback who can invert and play in the midfield. He did that to great effect with Reece James and even often had Malo Gusto invert and play as a number 10. If he's going to continue with that tactic at Man City, then he would absolutely love Nico O'Reilly. He started out as a midfielder and was only converted to a left-back by Pep Guardiola. Now, he's strong in the defence, brilliant in the midfield, and he's also very good going forward. We see him being one of the most important players under Enzo Maresca. However, this is very likely to be bad news for Rayan Ait-Nouri. We believe that he will be one of the biggest losers under Maresca's reign. He already started to see his playing time reduced in the second half of the just concluded season. If another coach comes in and continues to play O'Reilly ahead of him, he might grow impatient and perhaps even ask to leave the club. But one player who is likely to leave the club even before then is Savinho. Well, it's hard to term him a loser in the Enzo Maresca regime because he might not even be a part of it at all. His value in the Man City team has drastically dropped through the years, and we don't see how he'll be a part of Maresca's plans, especially with the many attacking talents at the club. Reports have already linked Savinho with a move to Spurs, and so far, Maresca hasn't stepped in to try and stop it. If the new boss thought he was good enough for his system, he would have tried his best to keep him. You know, just like he did with Josko Gvardiol. The Croatian defender was heavily linked with a move away from the Etihad this summer. He was one of the names at the top of Jose Mourinho's list after he got hired as the new Madrid boss, and it seemed like Gvardiol's camp was considering it. But Maresca told Man City that the defender is a huge part of his plans and he wants him to stay. Because of that, City offered him a new deal with a better contract, which should keep him at the club until 2031. Essentially, since Maresca fought to keep him at the club by all means, it's safe to say he's surely one of the winners of the new regime already. One way or another, he will play. But then, if we're saying that both Nico O'Reilly and Gvardiol will play regularly, that suggests that Gvardiol will play at centre-back, and this will leave a few players as losers. One of them, we think, will be Abdelkader Kusanov. Maresca loves centre-backs who can pass the ball. He loves to build out from the back, as we saw at Chelsea, and a passing defender is needed for that. Gvardiol can pass, Diaz is not too bad, and even Vitor Reis, who's expected to return to City this summer, is also really good on the ball. In that aspect, Kusanov seems like the weakest out of all of them. He's super fast, strong in tackles and aggressive on the ball, but he can also be a little rash, which makes him prone to bookings and errors. For this reason, we believe that the Uzbekistan international might be demoted to the bench. We see Maresca going for a centre-back pairing of Ruben Dias and Gvardiol, which will leave Kusanov looking from the outside in. Another player who might be left looking from the outside is Tijani Reinders. He had already started to warm the bench under Pep Guardiola after an unsteady start following his move from AC Milan. And now with Elliot Anderson having joined the club for such a huge amount, we just don't see how he sits on the bench. Maresca was a big supporter of the signing, so you know that he's going to use him a lot. This means that we're likely going to be seeing Rodri and Elliot Anderson partnering up at the base of Man City's midfield, just the same way Caicedo and Enzo did at City. He'll likely have O'Reilly inverting, as we said earlier, which will then allow him to use a very attacking 10 like Palmer. Average players train hard, elite players train smart. We didn't just build a mat, we engineered a blueprint for the 1%. Every line, every angle, and every drill was crafted through months of studying elite player biomechanics. Translate muscle memory into matchday dominance. Goal90's own training mat comes with the app to take you to the next level. Get yours today. In this case, we think that 10 might be Phil Foden. Maresca has a close relationship with Foden from his days as Pep Guardiola's assistant coach. He has watched the Englishman do some really great things for the club up close, and for that reason, he might be willing to give him more opportunities than he got this season. Basically, if you're Phil Foden, you just had a really tumultuous season that cost you a place in the World Cup, and you see a familiar face coming in as the new coach of your club, you must surely feel like a winner. If anything, he'll have fresh hope that this coach, who knows him and is familiar with his abilities, will be willing to bet on him in the new season. You know who else this familiarity might benefit? James Trafford. The goalkeeper worked with Maresca while the Italian was in charge of the Man City under-23s. They even won the Premier League under-23 trophy together in 2021. Trafford, seeing a man he has worked with and has enjoyed some level of success with come through the door, must surely feel like good news. Also, Maresca prefers goalkeepers who are good with the ball at their feet, or at the very least can distribute. Donnarumma is neither. He is one of the greatest shot stoppers of his generation, but he's pretty terrible with the ball at his feet and quite average at distribution. Trafford, on the other hand, is a lot more comfortable in that aspect, and his shot stopping isn't bad at all, so there might be a chance that he gets a proper look in by the coach. Interestingly, Trafford's performances in the domestic cups last season made even fans start to advocate for him to get more minutes, and those murmurings got louder when Donnarumma's error led to a goal for Arsenal in the Premier League. In fact, some fans blame Guehi's error against Everton on a lack of trust in Donnarumma's ability to handle the ball well. So if there's a time for Donnarumma to be deposed, it seems like it's now. And if there's a coach who can do that, it's surely an idealistic one like Maresca, who prioritizes how his team plays over anything else. I mean, another idealistic coach, Luis Enrique, sent Donnarumma packing last summer. Despite the fact that he just won him the Champions League, we don't put it past Maresca doing something similar. Now, other guys like Max Allen and Rico Lewis look like they'll be big losers under Enzo Maresca. Pep might have had some emotional connection to these players, having brought them up from the academy himself, but Maresca has no such connections with them, so he might not hesitate to cut them out of the team. They're also super young, and while Maresca doesn't mind young players, he surely doesn't want an overload of them in his squad. One of the reasons he fell out with the Chelsea owners was because he asked them to sign more experienced players, and they refused. He wants a good mix of youth and experience in his squad, so the young players who don't add much to the squad might be cut off easily. And on that same topic, Mateo Kovacic might just be one of the big winners of this new regime. Maresca's desire for experienced players might motivate him to keep the Croatian in the squad. Of course, he won't start regularly, but he could get meaningful minutes. We also saw Kova towards the end of the season, and we've seen him at this World Cup for Croatia. The man isn't finished just yet. He still has so much value to give, and we think that Maresca might enjoy using him. Finally, Rodri might be one of the biggest winners, but this is not even about playing time. Over the last 2 years, the midfielder has really struggled with injuries, which have affected his playing time and form. At Chelsea, we saw how Maresca brilliantly managed injuries of players and helped them get better over time. Rodri might really benefit from this because since 2024, his struggles with injuries have really stopped him from reaching the heights we all know he's capable of. Anyway, it's now time to hear from you guys. Do you agree with our assertions? Are there more Man City players you believe will be winners and losers under Enzo Maresca? Drop their names in the comments and tell us why. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, turn on the bell notification so that you never miss out on new content. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.